This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from Riverside Theatre, which is featuring the world premiere of a play opening tonight. So I'm very excited. Well, I'm excited to have Sam Osheroff, the new artistic director from Riverside Theatre here. Sam, thanks for coming up. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you, Dennis. Thanks for having us.
But very excited that we have the playwright, William McCauley, here, who has written Line of Descent, and you're here for the world premiere of your work. William, welcome to Iowa.
Well, thanks very much. Very happy to be here.
Before we get started talking about this production in particular, William, tell me a little bit about your background. Where are you from, and how did you decide that playwright was what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Well, I think with many sorts of activities, I'm not sure that one has a choice. Maybe it chooses you, and that it's something I've done for quite a while, and I've been interested in working with comedy, and specifically comic plays, and that has been my path.
So the first thing, sometimes I think that when we talk about, new plays or premiering plays, and that the first thing that people think of is angst and drama, and it's going to be hard to watch. But from what I understand about Line of Descent, no, this is it's a really funny comedy.
Well, yes.
At least that's the idea, right?
Well, indeed, yes, and it's meant to be fun for the audience, not only the audience, but also for the actors. I think it celebrates theater to a large degree, and it uses a lot of the language of the theater that we don't always get to see in a lot of realistic plays. So it is meant to be hugely enjoyable for the audience as well as the performers.
Well, of course, we don't want to spoil the plot or anything,
Sure.
but can you just sketch out the summary just a little bit to give people an idea of what it's about?
Well, yes, I think the best generalized way would be to say that it's four characters who come together in a house and discover some things about each other that they didn't realize whenever they first got into the house.
And there's money or an inheritance or something involved
Yes.
too, right? So
The basis of the plot is a rich woman has died and there's a will at stake, and everyone's trying to get their piece of the will.
what are your influences in writing comedy for the stage?
Well, I would say a lot of traditional comedy. I think that farce is not so much a genre as things are farcical. I mean, farce has been around for a very long time, but each era has its own definition of farce. So some of the interesting things that I think about farce are that it uses a very theatrical language. It uses language and gesture and very interesting characterizations. And so some of the most notable, probably the most notable farceur, as they would say, is Feydeau, the French playwright. So I think that he's a very good model, especially in his dramatic construction, which is extraordinary.
Talking with William and Sam about Line of Descent, which opens tonight at Riverside Theatre. Sam, this is, as we said, this is your first season at Riverside, and you've bit off a pretty big chunk doing the world premiere of a brand new play.
I've bitten off a couple of pretty big chunks this season. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So, because the earlier the Shipwrecked was just a tour de force.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Thank you. Yeah.
So, tell me about getting this play that has never been put on by anyone before and figuring out how to bring William's words to life.
Well, I think when we say it hasn't been put on, it hasn't been fully staged.
Fully staged, yeah. Obviously, there have been readings and stage readings.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are, although that Shipwrecked and Line of Descent are entirely different animals, they share a common theatrical language in that they're not realistic. They're not psychological realism on stage. They're stylized, and they depend on pace and the staging is, when you're working on a traditional play, on a psychologically realistic play, you let the actors sort of, the staging comes out of each character's psychological need, and of course that's always true with any play, but this is much more, I think, choreographed than that. It's more tightly staged than that. There's a very much a sharpness to everything, and William and I have been in contact for 6 months now, 7 months now, about this play back and forth, and I think the one thing we both were really clear on from the beginning is that farce tends to sag and go flat if it's not really sharp and the pace isn't.
You have to keep you must keep the energy up throughout.
Yes, the vocal energy has to be tremendous. The characters have to think faster than the average human being. So, and the need has to be great. Everybody has tremendous needs.
The stakes have to be high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Who's in the cast?
Who's in the cast? We have Chris Danford playing Laura. We have Christy Hartsgrove Moore playing Anna. We have a terrific actor in from Chicago, Ryan Jarrell playing the character of Harry, and we have Stephen Mark Weiss playing Douglas.
Oh, that's some in from out of town and other very, very familiar faces to our stages.
We're trying to do that more often here on the Riverside stage, is do a mix of people you really know and love here, and then some actors in from out of town.
And then, William, I know that you're going to do a couple of talks next week about comedy in drama or writing comedy in general. Tell me a little bit about what you talk about when you give a presentation like that.
Well, one of the things we talked about was doing a talk that not only talked about comedy, but some of the specific influences on this play. And some of those influences have to do with traditional comedy, even going back to Greek, all the way back to the beginning. So it talks a bit about that. It also talks about common traditional comic devices, how they've lasted and persisted through the years, and why they may still be effective, and how they are relevant to contemporary audiences. So it talks about comedy.
And those will be next Tuesday, right, at the Iowa City Library? Did I get that right?
We'll have one at 4 o'clock at the Iowa City Library, and then we'll repeat the same lecture at 7 o'clock in our theater space.
Okay.
Weather willing.
Weather, yes. We'll cross our fingers that the weather is not terrible for that.
Yep.
So, and then opening this weekend, anything special to go along with the opening of the play while William is here?
I am so glad you asked. Yes, tomorrow night, Saturday, we will be having a post-show reception in the lobby with some snacks and some drinks, and William will be there, so it's a chance to talk to him as well as the actors, and we'll celebrate the opening of this very tight, very funny play.
So opens tonight and then runs through
the 21st of February.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And if people want tickets, the normal Riverside Theatre box office online is at your website, which is
riversidetheatre.org, and that's theater, theatre.org.
All right. Sam Osheroff and William McCauley, thank you so much for coming in. I'm excited to see Line of Descent, and always fun to have a premiere of a play in the corridor at Riverside Theatre.
Yeah.
And a question and answer on Sunday.
Yes.
Talk back?
On
yes.
Sunday.
Okay, great.
On Sunday.
Thanks for remembering
Excellent.
that.
Yes.
Excellent. So a lot of activities surrounding the opening weekend of the play, but if this weekend doesn't work for you, there will be a couple more weeks that you can see it into February as well. And again, the full schedule at riversidetheatre.org. Gentlemen, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us,
Yes.